I'm Abby Parra with SLU-Tv, and I'm here with Geoffrey Canada, the president of Harlem Children's Zone. Mr. Canada, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thrilled to be here with you.
We're so happy to have you. Now, would you mind telling me a little bit about what you're going to be presenting to the students today?
Well, you know, I've spent my entire career trying to make sure that poor students of color actually get a chance to experience the American dream, which means simply that you get to live up to your own potential and nothing prevents you from reaching your full potential. And we have a program that works in 97 blocks in Central Harlem, works with 12,000 kids, and the idea is to get all of our kids so that they're college ready, to get those kids in college and get them through college. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about the crisis in education, because there are lots of places in this country where kids are denied a basic opportunity to get an education. And I happen to think that that's really immoral.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that you are the president of Harlem Children's Zone, correct? And
correct.
Would you mind telling me about that organization? I know that it's been very widely recognized by many people in the country and the world.
Yeah, our strategy is pretty simple. We start with children from birth, and we stay with those kids, those same kids, through elementary school, through middle school, through high school. We get those kids into college. We do so while providing social services and medical services and recreation services and cultural services. We want our kids growing up in a community that feels safe and exciting and sort of informed, so that these young people can really, create for themselves their own personal identities as smart, intelligent, creative human beings.
Right, absolutely. And you did found this organization. Now, what made you decide to choose Harlem as the area to begin this organization?
Well, I knew that I wanted to come back to New York City, which is where I was raised. And when I got back to New York City in 1983, there was a recession going on. Some of the students may be worried about the recession. Well, in '83, there was this big recession going on in America. It was very hard to find a job. I got the first and only offer was to work for this organization, and I took that offer, and I've been there for 31 years.
That's so great.
And it happened to be in Harlem, so I grew up in the South Bronx, and lots of my friends from the South Bronx said, "Jeff, why didn't you do this in the South Bronx?" I said, "No one in the South Bronx will give me a job." I got the job in Harlem, and I stayed in Harlem.
That's so you did. You grew up there, and I know that you definitely identify with these students. Is there any sort of situation or story that you'd like to share about growing up and just what gave you the motivation to?
Yeah, well, you know what? I was talking this morning with a group about what it was like growing up in the late '50s when kids were tracked. We had 3-1, which was supposedly the smart kids, and 3-6, which was supposedly the dumb kids. And it happened for all the kids in the whole New York City school system. And it was such a tragedy to look at a 9-year-old and say, "You're not going to be college material." That adults were making those kind of decisions. And it changed my life. Most of my family and most of my friends were put into those classes that were considered to be non-college classes as very young children. And you just saw this self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The teacher tells you, "I don't think you have it." They begin to tell your parents you don't have it. You start believing you don't have it. You stop working hard. And guess what? You end up not having it. Versus the other kids, everybody say, "Oh, you're so smart." Well, if you think you're smart, then you work hard. You don't give up. You keep trying. And so when I realized this at a very young age, I said I wanted to make sure that if I got an opportunity, I would ensure that children had a fair chance to make it.
That's absolutely awesome. That's just so great. What is it, just final question here, what do you hope to be or see the future being for education in this area and also just across the world for the students that are growing up in lower level income homes?
I just think we should live in a country, Dr. King sort of made this statement that people should be judged by the content of their character. And I think we should be able to have young people who are successful based on their hard work and their intellect, and not based on what zip code they come from, or not based on whether or not they were born in an inner city versus in a suburban community. And I just think that's part of the American dream. I think it's the kind of country that the founders believed we should have, and we haven't lived up to that yet, and I'd love to see that happen.
Thank you so much for being with us here today, and I would like to speak for all of St. Louis University that we are so very excited for your presentation later today.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.